with Bob Garvey with the Bible Strength Project, here with another episode of our Daily Bible Breakdown, where we're doing two things. One, we're lifting up biblical truth, help you get stronger mentally, physically, most importantly, spiritually. Two, reading true the entire Bible in just 1 year. Just getting a couple extra burpees from 100 daily burpees. Hopefully you're getting your fitness in as well today. As you can see, I'm in the basement of blessings.
Basement of blessings.
Let's get a little bit better view for everybody. Down here, basement of blessings. If you're new to the basement of blessings, then DBB. Basement of blessings is my basement downstairs. Has a lot of blessings. It does. Great daily Bible breakdown for you today. Talking about the secret to prayer. All right, we are in the book of Mark, chapter 11, and the book of John, chapter 12. Before we get to that, two things. One, we continue to employ five-finger death punch. A biblical analysis. What is that? That is using or reading 5 different Bible translations to get you the very best daily Bible insight. We're looking at the NIV, NLT, CEV, Amplified Version, and the Message version of the Bible. It is also Swole Wednesday. Swole Wednesday, for you new people, you know who you are, is when you send us pictures of your swollenness, and they will be reviewed by the Swole Council. And if you are deemed worthy, you might get in next Swole Wednesday like this. Now, so this is what happened. I gotta preface today's Swole Wednesday picture. I challenged one of our long-time DBB members. Said, "Where is your Swole picture?" And I was expecting just the normal stuff, and then he comes up with this. Dude, Big John from Maryland bringing it with his Captain America. And look at the stare. Look at that. Can we get that again? Look at the stare. Look at that. I mean, I stand corrected. Mind blown. So do me a favor. For Swole Wednesday today, text your Swole picture to 717-572-8440. All right, let's get to it. A lot going on in Mark and John. Mark chapter 11 begins with Jesus going into Jerusalem as king. Remember what I said the other day, that Jesus riding on a donkey meant he came in peace. Next, starting in verse 12, we see the unusual cursing of the fig tree. When Jesus and the disciples return the next morning, the fig tree is withered. His disciples are like, what? Jesus says, "Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, 'Go and throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes what they say will happen, it will be done for them." More on that in a minute. We need to really talk about that. Chapter 11 ends with Jesus' authority being questioned by the religious leaders. They're always questioning them. All right, John chapter 12 starts out with Jesus being anointed by Mary with a bottle of pure nard, which was really expensive perfume. And that would be Mary, mother or sister of Martha, not Mary, his mom, just to clarify. John once again tells the story of Jesus coming into Jerusalem. In verse 20, Jesus talks about his own death. And then chapter 12 ends with some discussions about belief and unbelief among Jews. How are we supposed to get stronger in today's word, Pastor Bob? That's a great question. Let's answer it. Let's go back to Mark chapter 11, starting verse 20. When Jesus and the disciples are returning back to Jerusalem, and on the way, they see the fig tree on the side of the road, looking all tired and withered, like dead. Peter specifically is like, "What?" Then Jesus says these words, which have been confusing Christians ever since. He says, "Have faith in God. Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, 'Go, throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes that what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours." Like, okay, like really? Is that true? Is that like even doable? Anything we ask for in prayer, like if we believe that we received it, it'll be ours? Like, that sounds impossible, doesn't it? That's like wishy-washy secret kind of stuff. The secret, just ask, believe it and receive it. Okay. To understand these verses better, this is where the five-finger death punch comes into play, because we want to look at the Amplified version of the Bible. Amplified version, we find it written this way, starting in verse 23. Have faith in God constantly. I assure you and most solemnly say to you that whoever says to this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart in God's unlimited power, but believes that what he says is going to take place, it will be done for him in accordance with God's will. Oh, wait, whoa. For this reason, I am telling you, whatever things you ask for in prayer, in accordance with God's will, believe with confidence, trust that you have received them, and they will be given to you. Do you see the clarification? Do you see what's being amplified in the Amplified version of the Bible? You can have anything you want, as long as it's in accordance with God's will. Simple. It's easy. You can have anything that you want to happen. The cursing of the fig tree, the moving of the mountain, unlimited riches, right? Unlimited wealth. If it is in accordance with God's will, it'll happen. How amazing is that? Now, at least one of you fine DBB members is out there thinking, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Since nothing happens that is outside of God's will, and everything that we are currently experiencing is God's will, then as long as I pray for what is, my prayers are going to come true. Again, kind of a simple aha, but not particularly useful if you're praying for something else. Here's where the simple fact becomes life-changing. Okay? Nothing happens outside of God's will. When we realize that 100% of our prayers are answered, that are in line with God's will, then we begin to spend more time contemplating what is God's will. Geez, I wonder what God's will is. If all of my prayers are answered, if they're in line with God's will, what is God's will? Now, it won't be long for most people as they spend time contemplating what God's will is, they understand they need to know God more. Oh, they're realizing the better we know God, the better we know God's will. And so we will spend as much time getting to know God through his word as we will praying. And that, my friends, is where things begin to change. That's where our lives begin to change. Because once we know who God is, listen. Once we know who God is, and that he is perfect and complete and without fault, and his will is perfect and complete without fault, then we would never wish for anything, pray for anything, hope for anything that is outside of his will. Do we understand that? To say it another way, if God is love, perfect, complete love, then we would never have a prayer that would be outside of God's perfect, complete love. We would never want that for us, him, anyone else. If God is peace, we're always praying for peace. If God is grace and mercy and kindness, our prayers, when we know who he is, will always be aligned with his mercy and grace and kindness. Do you see what that means? That's why we study the Bible, folks. That's why we do the daily Bible breakdown, to get stronger in God's word so our prayers, our will, our lives align with God. And when they align with God, that's when everything comes together, man. That's when we see him showing up in our lives. That's when his peace, joy, and mercy comes into our hearts. That's when heaven comes down to earth. That's how we get stronger in today's word. Ooh, that's deep. And now for
Today's power verse.
Today's power verse, Mark 11:24. Everything you ask for in prayer will be yours if only you have faith. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Get out your daily Bible reading tracker, or at least mentally give yourself a check mark. Give yourself credit for doing the work today. Count it as a win. We're getting our Bible study done. Bob Garvey with the Daily Bible Breakdown. See you tomorrow.